Live from Kansas City, Kansas, a.k.a. The Dot. It's the Tell It Like a T.I. Is show with your host, Vigilante.
Yeah, what's going on, y'all? Once again, 2 minutes and some change. Not the blog, but the radio show. And we're live and direct. I got Brother Righteous on the cut with me. And we're going to be talking about a couple subjects. Once again, rest in peace to J-Rock. Rest in peace to all the people that are out there in Kansas City, Kansas, as well as Kansas City, Missouri, that's going through the struggle, going through the pain. And today, sadly, we'll be talking about more pain, more things that we saw. Like today, some disturbing things, seeing a man and a young child killed and a woman shot in Chicago on Facebook Live. This ain't the first time we've seen something on Facebook Live, but this is a sad state when it comes to Chicago and the violence that's in Chicago. It's insane. When you think about all the stuff that's been going on for the last few years, it's like it's turned up to the point that there's no morality. There's no type of morals code or nothing when it comes to gang banging and the things that's going on that's hurting everybody right now. There's a lot of people going through a lot of pain. And hey, Darren, you saw it for yourself. We saw the video. The video's now out. It's made news. Let's talk about some of the things before we get into the topic of should the feds take over Chicago. It's a very controversial statement. Once you make it a precedent, then, hey, people can follow suit. And next thing you know, you can have martial law. But something got to happen in Chicago. We know because of we know the systemic things that cause these problems. But still, tell that to somebody who lost their child. Tell that to somebody who's watching their kid do life in prison. What you think, bro?
I think it's super deep. I think Chicago is one of those situations where it is super deep, and the fact that they're at an insane amount of murders. I just say all the innocent citizens, me personally, move, go somewhere else. That's what I say. I mean, to be honest, right now, while we know for sure that it's not safe in the Chi, you got to move. You got to get out of that city. And I'm only saying that because we haven't taken the steps as a community in Chicago to help solve the problem, to report, to have neighborhood watches, to do all the things that you need to do to keep these things at a minimum. We're at the point where we're too scared. So if you're already too scared and you're just waiting to get shot, you might as well move and start fresh somewhere else. I mean, you'll probably earn a better living somewhere else anywhere. Because what I was reading in NBC News is that in that neighborhood where that toddler got killed, the average medium household income is just a little bit over $12,000, which is well below the poverty line. Like, that's almost like a Social Security disability check, or even smaller than that. So
I get you now. Saying that, moving out of Chicago, what about the people that live there, love Chicago? I'm from Chicago. So my mom ain't never moved. She lives there and she still stays there. Some of my family stay there. But there's a problem, definitely a problem when you see the violence after violence, man. You're seeing more bodies than you a Navy vet. There's more bodies in Chicago's laid to rest in war.
Yes.
In some countries where we've went over there to fight. And there's not as many people. So we have an issue. It's a young man that was on television the other day. He said, before we bring the police in, we need to look at more people who are, more educators, the poverty line. Like you said, economically, need more jobs in the hood, more teachers and better equipment, education, schools. Let me say that right. Better schools, and the conditions are that. Does that excuse it? No, but don't that play into it though?
Yeah, that completely plays into it. And so, but what I would say though is, as far as staying alive right now, that isn't going to help right now. Right now, the only thing I can see is that you good citizens of Chicago, you need to move. Because if you're not going to do anything to solve the problem as far as being active in your community, then you must move or just wait to become a victim.
So we see rappers like Chief Keef. It was an incident when he came here. We're not blaming the rapper, but the violence that you see in Chicago, when people say Chirac, that's some people use it as a term of endearment. No different than they say Killer City here.
Yeah.
They say Killer City here.
And crime dot.
In Chirac. The mentality of that, you take music, you take young kids, 19-year-old guy that killed, I think a week ago, another young girl was killed.
Yes.
Was killed in Chicago by a 19-year-old. So you got these young people taking each other out, and I don't know how they get into guns. So you can go by different theories, but right now, Trump want to bring the feds in. We got to know the feds are already there, but Trump want to push the button. Do you think that Trump should let the feds take over? Do you think Chicago is at that point where the feds should take over?
I think that we can't stop him if that's what he chooses to do. But I think what you can do is move. Once again, I'm just being honest, because if it's that bad where they're talking about bringing the feds in and almost making it martial law, then you're once again a prisoner in your own home again.
Okay, but Gary Money Joyner says the problem was created and it's obvious. He says poverty creates, desperation. What do you say to that?
It does, but who cares about that if your only goal is just to survive? Okay, so if you want to live, what I'm saying, that's why I keep saying move. If you want to live instead of just existing, then you need to move right now. Because right now, the problem isn't going to get any better just overnight. That's why I say, yes, there are a lot of contributing factors, and we know them, and they've happened all over the country. But the point is, what about your life on a day-to-day basis? Or do you feel safe? If you don't feel safe in the Chi, then that should be telling you to leave. Because your goal is to be a victim your whole life and just wait for your number to be called by a bullet. Your goal is supposed to be living, helping other folks, helping yourself, all kind of stuff. I mean, living out your dreams, and that doesn't mean like being a movie star or anything, but just being a citizen and having fun a little bit. But if you're in a city where the cost of living is high and they don't have many jobs and it's a billion gangsters, disciples, vice lords, all of them up in there, you're in a cesspool. So that doesn't mean leave Chicago forever, but right now where we're at in Chicago, as far as black folks, is mostly bad situations. And that is what's like killing us, is we are so prideful about claiming like, I'm not going to ever leave Chicago. What has Chicago done for you? I understand you got family there, but what has Chicago done for you to where you need to stay in Chicago so bad to wait to catch a bullet?
Now, Gary says poverty and economics challenge neighborhoods makes crime. You have to understand these problems are created before you start solving the problems. That's a good statement. What you think?
I think it's a good one.
I said, so what do we do? My thing is, we know the problem. We see it. But if the neighborhood is not willing to, but if you're talking terrorism when it comes to the situation that Chicago neighborhoods are in and how it was set up, what do you think we can do as a black community with black leaders to do something to help our people before they come in and the feds just take over the place?
They have to, if you want to approach it from that angle, then they have to go approach the leaders of these gangs directly. Because if we know that these gangs are banging so hard that they just taking out babies and everything, you got to go to the head. Okay. And to me, you already know that the heads are tainted if they're not taking these gangsters out for doing stuff like that.
So, there's a lot of people in Chicago. that are, on the ground, are doing work that go unsung. How do we add the help? You got leaders all over the place that speak on the behalf of blacks. Should they step in too? A lot of people do speeches about what can we do to save Chicago. You got every type of leader. I'm talking about the 2.M.A.S.S to everybody that's out there. What can we all collectively do to stop the madness in Chicago? Because this is something that I don't think we should want the feds to take over, because once you set that precedence, then they can, that's to me opening up the key and the door
to Pandora's box.
Yep, to Pandora's box. So I don't know. He says, Gary says, education is not necessarily the cure. When the education system is corrupt and designed to fail our children, they don't teach, they indoctrinate. This is the price we pay for integrating with our enemy.
I think that's a good statement. And I think education, it does always pay, but I understand what he's saying, because it takes so long for education to actually start kicking in.
Okay.
So if you want to start educating, then you couldn't start at the age of like 12 and up, because they've already established their ways. So you would have to start with the little kids, and now you're looking at like 10, 15 years down the road before education starts to pay off. Well, there's people scared in their homes today.
Yeah. And there's violence all over. You see the rappers, and like I say, I love hip hop, but you see the culture push, as so many rappers in Chicago have died. They've died on video shoots. You see many rappers die in just drive-bys and are in jail, and they make threats to other rappers. And you come to Killer City, not Killer City, but Chirac, this happens. So being said this, Gary, the question I'm going to ask you, Gary, is this. If that's the case, then how do we make the step in changing this? Because it's getting worse and worse each year. That's the thing that gets me with Chicago, is that it's getting worse and worse. And we catching it on live don't even scratch the surface of how many people are dying in Chicago. I think about Hadia as she went to sing at the inauguration with Obama. She comes back and she was killed. So you see it all over the place. So how do we do this? And how come it's this bad in Chicago as opposed to Detroit? Detroit got a lot of financial issues, a lot of everything. Detroit, not even Detroit anymore, of what we know of it. But I don't think it's to this level. Or if it is, then it's not getting the national spotlight on it. So do you think, I say this, do you think that maybe Chicago, for the ones that want to talk about conspiracy, do you think that this is just a target city? I don't know if Farrakhan talked about it or somebody talked about, this was years ago, when maybe Chicago is the target testing ground to invoke martial law. Maybe that's it. Because something is going on that is crazy. Something is going on that is crazy. I don't understand it, and we have to get better. We have to get better with that. So that's the issue. So I don't know how we solve this problem, but I know one thing. It's got to stop. This has got to stop. And if it's created, then we need to, the ones that know that it's created, then we need to do something. We have to do something. This is just, like I said, when I read this story, man, and then like I say, the 2-year-old is killed and everything else, that's crazy. So I don't know.
Chicago's already at 77 murders this year, 2017.
Yeah. So that's crazy. And like I said, a year, and we ain't even talking about the summer. So each year, Chicago is breaking records, and something got to happen. We know economics. So if you're Trump, for those that voted for him, what do Trump do? What do we want Trump to do? What should Trump do? Is the key. What should all of them do? I don't know. But if this thing kicks off and you get them in that, then I don't know. Like, he's offering to send the feds into Chicago. Some people say they're already there. Matter of fact, Police Superintendent Eddie Johnson was talking about the incident. And like I say, he was talking about it with the community organizer, Jamal Green. So what do we do? And man, it has our attention right now. We think about Trayvon Martin. We think about Walter Scott. We think about all these other things that had the nation attention. And like I said, a lot of things have our attention, but when do we step up and capitalize in a way that we make change? Because young blacks have been in the spotlight for the last few years, big time, whether police brutality or whatever.
And I got a quote from Mayor Rahm Emanuel, and he said on Tuesday that meaningful gun control and sentencing legislation to keep guns out of the hands of the criminals is what's needed. And so once again, we keep going back to this thing. If we already have it to where felons can't get guns, but all these felons they do actually have guns, then your laws mean nothing if they're still getting the guns anyway. Your sentencing means nothing if they're willing to pick up a gun and do 10 to 15 years just for being caught with a gun. That's saying that they would rather be protected, kill somebody possibly, and go to jail than worry about your gun laws or whatnot.
I see it differently. I hear what you're saying on that. Let me read what Gary said. Gary said Trump is going to play the fake hero and lock our children up. Now, that's what I'm saying. This mayor who's been criticized, and rightfully so, he's the one that held the information back of the young man that was shot in the back. You want to make more laws to continue mass incarceration.
That's what I'm saying. I don't agree with that.
Yeah, so that to me, and that's the back end of this thing. If Trump comes in, it's like Gary said, he's going to look like he saved the day, but actually, this is to keep that mass incarceration train going. You know what I'm saying? I got a caller right now. What's going on, brother? How you doing? Who am I speaking to? You on Tell It Like a TIS show? What's going on?
Hey, this is Gary.
Go ahead, Gary. Tell us about it.
Yeah, I don't think that they want to really solve this problem. They just want to put, Band-Aids or use this issue to continue to feed the prison industrial complex system. They're going to continue to put our kids through to prison, and that's all they're going to do. That's what Trump's going to do.
Okay,
it's not going to really solve the problem. They're going to say, "Oh, the crime is low, but all we're going to have is a lot more people in prison."
And I see that trap too, Gary. But here's the deal. What do we do? Because we see it. It's like we watch the movie and they're playing the movie and we know what the next scene is. But how do we remix that scene and turn it back that way? Because their ultimate plan would be to get into Chicago, like you say, and have a nice little feeding system for mass incarceration, because they're going to throw football numbers at these young guys at 18, 19 years old, and it's not going to solve nothing. So how do we, because we know what his ultimate plan is, how do we get in front of that with all the leaders that do speeches and talk about what we need to do? How do we step in and take care of our own business?
It's going to be a process, a slow process. We have to got to put some money together, start building community centers, and we got to get to our kids early, and try to change the way they look at themselves and look at each other. Because right now they're just looking at the situation, and the situation is pretty desperate.
Yeah, it is. It is. I agree 100%. So my thing is this then. So you say community, and I understand we have the same issue sometime in Kansas City, the same way that Chicago have, not to that big extent. At least in this decade. But so when you say getting money together, then shouldn't we hold our leaders, our athletes, our actors, people that come from the community of Chicago, Jordan, everybody, because this affects everybody in that community, and everybody has made money off of those communities. Off of those areas, So how do we rally the people to start this slow start that you said, to at least get the ball rolling past our conversation, past our speeches, but to actually start affecting change so that maybe 20 years later we can see the change?
Well, we got to, I'm thinking we can probably boycott Michael Jordan's stuff and stop buying all those shoes. Those shoes aren't benefiting us.
Nope.
He's not putting any money into trying to help out the community that I know of.
Yeah.
He spent money on these plans to train cops, those cops know how to do it right. We've seen them know how to do it right when it comes to the other racist people, but not ours.
Exactly. So, and I think that's so. Before I let you go, man, I appreciate you and engaging with us. But I want to lead this question with you, and you can answer it. With that being said, do you think that, and not all blacks, but some of us, who, like you said it about Jordan, and we still buy his shoes, we still don't boycott Black Friday, what is it about that we can be, is it too late for us to be reprogrammed, or what is it going to take? Because I don't know, death doesn't make us run toward it. Police brutality doesn't make us run towards trying to fix it. What is it going to really take for us to really do what you're talking about?
Oh, what can it take? That's a good question.
Yeah.
and I thought, a long time that after so many deaths, we would finally come to the realization that, we can't do things the same way we've been doing. We got to start making some changes, and we haven't done that yet.
Not at all. I mean, you're talking Walter Scott, Alton Sterling, Philando. We can name. Do you think about it from Sean Bell, Oscar Grant? We can just name them out. It's, Freddie Gray. We can just roll those names off the tongue. So it's been in the media. It's been on the news. It's been debated on. But it's like we call churches out. I call conscious leaders out, because to me the same thing happens. You see churches and the big leaders, they're making millions of dollars, and the church itself is making 40-something billion a year or what have you. And you got conscious leaders that are going to city, talking and giving speeches, but at the same time, these people are not on the ground. They do the speech over there, they come to Chicago, but they're not on the ground. I think that we need to hold these people that are benefiting off of our pay accountable.
Yeah, that's the number one thing we have to do. Hold them accountable.
Yep, so that's the thing. We have to go
and we have to start retraining the minds of our children and our people.
And it's a hard race, because our children are stuck on social media. They're stuck watching the stars. They keep up with the stars. That's why I normally wouldn't even worry about what a star can do, but our kids are so focused on it. Like you say, they know how to stand in line to get those shoes. They like reality TV shows. They watch these things and on social media, and these are where the stars are hanging at. So I think that, like I say, the boycott starts when we make them accountable. Because even the guy that comes into the city and speaks about, Chicago need to do this, we need to ask him, what are you going to do for Chicago?
Exactly.
So, hey, Gary, man, keep fighting, brother. Thank you for listening to the show, man. We're going to keep talking about it, man. We're going to keep reading some of your stuff, man. We got an uphill battle, man. It almost seemed like it would take a slaughter of 10,000 people at one time in one day to maybe wake us up, and that's sad.
It is sad.
All right, brother. All right, man. God bless you, man. Keep fighting, bro.
All right.
All right, brother. Peace.
And a point that you just made just a little bit ago about the churches, I just brought this up. This is from allchristiannews.com. In the last 30 years, black churches have taken in $420 billion from members. So you got black churches that have taken in all this money, and they could give that money to anybody they want to, including the black community, and the black community is still in the shape that it's in. So a big part of if we want to talk about a lack of morals, then we have to talk about where morals come from. And a lot of times morals come from these churches and synagogues and mosques and whatnot. And if the churches, the synagogues and mosques are running things crooked, just as crooked as the crooks out here, then who does anyone have to look up to? Who does anyone have to use for their moral compass to go about living life in a much better way? And that's like a big part of our problem. I know no one wants to hear about it. No one wants to talk about it. But if these guys are bringing in all that money, but then not even giving any of it back to the black community, that's a big part of our problem.
Man, keep going.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
And then another thing I say is that I don't think throwing money at these folks is a thing that's going to fix it. I think that, you can, if a bear eats your child, and your solution to that is to go ahead and give him a steak a day for 2 weeks, it's still going to be a bear after the 2 weeks is over. If you do it for a month, if you do it for 6 months, that bear is still going to be a bear after 6 months of you feeding him a steak. So a killer is going to be a killer whether some celebrities come in or not. What needs to happen is, I'm just going to say it, they do need to go to jail. It's some folks that do need to go to jail, and they can't just take out the leaders of these organizations on some RICO status. They need to take out the whole entire organization. They need to take out the whole entire organization. We know the signs. The police officers know how to tell these gang members better than anybody, but they just kind of sit back and watch them because, to me, it's in their plan to allow us to kill each other. I mean, that's us doing the work for them. And that's why they always bring that thing up whenever a citizen, unarmed citizen, black citizen gets killed by a police officer. Well, why aren't y'all talking about all the people that black people themselves have killed? And so, because no one talks about that. No one talks about it because that's part of the plan anyway. So why not let them keep killing each other? So we have to take it in our own hands. We can't wait on the government. We can't wait on the church folk. We can't wait on none of that. And that's why I say, get y'all asses out of Chicago. Regular citizens that's trying to live your life. Get out of Chicago. Go somewhere else. You're not going to miss it. Trust me. It's plenty of Chicago folk here in Kansas City. You know what I'm saying? Including the man sitting right next to me. It's from
I
Chicago.
love Chicago, man. Harold's Chicken, baby. But the thing is, though, I hear what you're saying, and a lot of people feel the same way you feel. So make no mistake. Definitely heard. But we got the issues in Chicago. I mean, Kansas City the same way. Every urban core pretty much got the same story. Kansas City, you won't have violence happen the last couple of weeks. People are turning up in KCK, killing, going in, whatever, whether it is due to drugs or what have you. It's still the same story in each city.
For sure.
And the education level is the same with people, and the unemployment level is the same. When you find bad, inadequate education and no jobs, you're going to find crime.
But in Kansas City, tell me this,
okay,
and you've been in both. Do we at least have a better chance to make it out of that situation?
I think so, because of the city is smaller. The city is smaller, but at times KCK and Kansas City, Missouri has been ahead of Chicago in violence per capital. So what I'm saying is, the same story is the thing, yo. Like he said, we got to teach the kids, but I'm calling out speakers. I'm calling out so-called activists. I'm calling out pastors, teachers, stars, athletes. Because the thing is, we can speak about it, but what are they doing? When somebody comes to Chicago, there should be somebody saying, since you're speaking to Chicago, show me the organization that you started in Chicago. Show me that. Show me where you are directly affecting somebody in Chicago and affecting change. Because if not, it's just people using Chicago as a leverage to push their speeches and not do nothing to do follow-up. That's the problem, and we see this in Kansas City.
Yes.
A lot of people speak, even in our program. They speak, but at the same time, you can't call them back the next week when they spoke.
But tell me this. You're from Chicago, right?
Yeah.
So what brought black people to Chicago initially?
Well, freedom, I guess.
And what else? What else? Jobs, right?
Yeah, jobs, yeah.
Okay, so what I'm saying is pretty much all the black folk that are in Chicago got roots in Mississippi, Alabama, Arkansas, Memphis, Tennessee, things of that nature, right?
Uh-huh.
So if work brought them up there, they established families. If it's not any work there anymore, you need to migrate again, is what I'm saying.
I get you. Now, okay, Gary G says this. Chicago, if you leave, they will create a similar problem elsewhere. These people, politicians, aren't obligated to serve us. And he's telling the truth because you can go Milwaukee.
Yes.
Milwaukee is like that. It's some places in South Carolina it's like that. So no matter where you run, when you have the urban core of black people, these things are targeted. You look at the liquor stores, you look at all the bad food and everything else, it's targeted there. So if you got this plan to rustle us up, kill us through bad food, put us in jail, put drugs out there, give us less opportunities, then you're going to have this shop everywhere you go.
And so, but we know that happens. And so how do we combat it? That's the major thing. And the way that we combat it is that we can't keep giving in to this trap, this Tom and Jerry type trap.
Okay.
We've seen Tom and Jerry 1,000,000 times. And so we should know that the trap is always going to be set for the mouse. We're the mouse. And they're Tom.
Uh-huh.
And Tom's job, his sole job, is to chase Jerry around all day, every day. So they have people that are dedicated to sabotage black folk and people of color every day, all day.
But the issue is, since you're speaking of Tom and Jerry classic show, Jerry won, though. Jerry was the mouse that Tom couldn't capture.
And that's why I used Tom and Jerry, because that's the mouse we have to be.
Okay.
We have to be that mouse, and then Jerry's cousin that used to come from out of town with his brim tipped down low, and he would come and punch Tom in the face a lot of times. He would actually punk Tom. Yep. So we got to bring in that cousin with the tilted brim.
Okay, but like Gary said, though, how do we do that when we don't own nothing? We don't do none of this stuff. How do we do that, though? How do we do that? You know, you're trying to fight somebody that it's like telling an infant. I do one better. Telling a 10-year-old, go fight the number one MMA fighter who got many things that you don't have. A 10-year-old don't know this. You know, it may want to fight it. It may feel like I could take it out, but they own everything. We have money, but we don't own guns. We don't have health care. I talk to Dr. Samari about this all the time. So my thing is, how can we fight this battle when we're not prepared to even fight the power within our own neighborhoods?
2 words, and they your 2 words. I'm using them. Ferocious focus.
I got you. So I don't know, man. It's getting crazy to me, and I don't know how you combat it. But I know one thing: we have to do something, man, because to see this stuff happen over and over again in Chicago, and it's happened everywhere else. Some other inner city just happens, but to see it on a roll, it's like Chicago is not letting up, and I don't know because if we let the feds in, it's a wrap. Because now they have our permission to do it.
The same way we fell into the trap of selling drugs, committing murders, getting people hooked, which then made it so profitable that they privatized prisons.
Yeah.
So we can't fall into these traps.
But we see it. We saw it on the on the documentary 13.
Yes.
We've seen these things. Like I say, I've seen many people tell us that we see it on YouTube. We can go, it's like a game. We can watch what's going to happen, but can you stop it? It's almost like we can let you post up all these things on YouTube, have every speaker get on their page and talk about black people need to do this and black people need to do that, and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. At the end of the day, people are making money off the struggle of blacks, not just white people.
Yes.
But, you know what I'm saying? But we're not holding nobody accountable. So if you're not held accountable, then you can do what the hell you want. And by them creating, like Gary said, creating this atmosphere that we willingly participate in.
Yes.
Then how can we win? Okay, let's talk about Dr. Samari says, why do we target our own people too? Not saying we should kill anybody. So you notice that a lot of the violence go against us, right? You know, within our neighborhoods. What happens, and Samari is leading to this, what happens if this violence in Chicago was starting to migrate into the white neighborhoods or the suburban areas of Illinois. Do you think that it would be handled?
Would be in for sure.
Okay.
They would be in quickly and swiftly.
Because the people would demand change, right? The citizens in suburbia would allow that because it would mess up property value. It would mess up their way of making money.
Yes.
So because it don't cost that much to maintain the hood,
yes,
it doesn't matter.
And actually, they want you to depreciate the value of the hood, so then they can come and buy it at a low rate. The business model is buy low, sell high. So their goal is to allow you to tear up and destroy the outskirts of Chicago, like you said, the hundreds out there, and you destroy it, drive that price all the way down, and they just buying up chunk by chunk by chunk of land for dirt cheap, and then they'll turn it into condos and kick you out, and you'll be dispersed again.
So, with all that being said, with all the rich people we have, and the citizen, do it just boil down to every man within their block, their families, will have to just stand up and just take their family step by step to get this done, because maybe not trying to get it to paintbrush the whole area and just start with one little movement, and maybe like Gary say, long term, it will be fixed. But that's going to be a lot of bodies laying in between now and 20 years.
I personally think it's too late for that one, because if that were the case, it should have started at the inception of like Chicago gangs, like way back in the day. When you let it get as deeply rooted as it is now, where you got fathers, grandfathers, and great-grandfathers that's still banging, that's still chiefs, that's heads of these gangs that ain't never stopped, then now you have a culture within Chicago that needs to be unearthed. It needs to be pulled up by the roots. And so I don't think at this point that going in and addressing a problem that's just as big as the Chicago Police Department, they got as many gangsters as they do police officers out there right now.
Okay, but Gary says they already have white-on-white crime. It just doesn't get the media coverage because they aren't the mouse. We are the mice.
And we understand that, and that's a good point, Gary, but the odds are already against us in so many different ways. We're fighting wars on 10 other different fronts outside of black-on-black crime. So just adding another one is it might seem like one more thing, but one more thing might add, 100 more pounds of pressure on your chest. And we don't need any more pressure or weight on our chest.
Okay. Also, later on today, matter of fact, in a few minutes, don't forget to go to my boy Samari show. It's called The Pendulum. Source Radio Network presents The Pendulum with Dr. Samari Swaggart. And make sure y'all go to that. And you can go to Samari Swaggart page. It's www.facebook.swag The Pendulum. And he's going to be talking about the 21st century labor forces are robotic, artificial intelligence, and the digitalization and automation get a hold on the American labor force. How he's going to be talking about how computers going to be already taking over stuff, along with the stuff we're going through. Also, Doc said, what do you think it would take to get the gangs to call? What is that? I can't really read that. A moratorium between the gangs and focus on fighting white supremacy. Great thing. You know what? If somebody can meet with these gangs and understand the bigger picture, who's popular to do that? That sounds like a Jordan could do.
That's what I said.
You know what I'm saying? And so how do we sit down with those guys? Farrakhan, because Farrakhan, that's his back door.
There you go.
And I know Boyce Watkins still stays in Chicago. So how do we do that, Dr. Samari? I want to know, because if they understand the bigger picture, then maybe we can save lives, man. But from what I'm hearing is that a lot of the OGs that's in the gang, they'll get disrespected by the young Thundercats that we call down here in Kansas City. Mm-hmm. They're not caring about the code, so to speak. And I did a thing last week talking about the KKK. They have an elaborate setup. It's totally different than the gangs that we got running around killing each other. They have treasurers. They have people that are in high places, police officers, inside of the Senate, inside of different cabinets as well. We just got block people killing each other, and it's not even a plan for a greater purpose than to kill and have a little block money.
The plan is only to get money and not work for what they call the white man. Yep. And that's it. And when you add things all the way up with the way that these gangs are structured, especially, you're not even really making much more than minimum wage off that drug money, but you're taking like 100 times more risk than you would at a regular job.
So, okay then, if you're living in Chicago and you can't move, what do you do, Righteous? What do you do to help? There's somebody said, well, okay, Righteous, what can we do? What would be your first step or plan of action to stop the violence in Chicago?
Well, I already told you, Greyhound bus, my man. Greyhound bus is what I would be on, moving up out of there. So I can't give you any more advice because to me, you have to take their victims away. And if I'm a citizen that's not involved in this gang violence, but I'm a prisoner to it, then I can't be something that you feed off of. They have to have something that they feed off of. They have to have some way to recruit. And if you're a law-abiding citizen that's not going according to their plan, then you are in their way.
Okay.
And so I say, get out of their way. Go somewhere else. Your only thing is that you want to be able to feed your family and do some nice things in life. And it shouldn't matter where that is. And that's what I'm telling you. We are too loyal to stuff that is that dirt of Chicago. Even if you died at 80 years old, ain't going to remember your name. It's not going to care about you. It's not going to think about you. So you go to where the money is at if you are a regular law-abiding citizen. Mm-hmm. You don't stay somewhere just because you got memories there, you got roots there, all of that. The whole movie and Roots, they moved all over once they left slavery. They went to Tennessee, they went all over. So, I mean, we can't be so loyal to these cities that we will sit up and get murdered by the city. I mean, if you live in Iraq, in actual Iraq, not Chirac, if you live in Baghdad and you knew that the troops were coming in to blow Baghdad up, right? Mm-hmm. You cannot be angry when your building gets blown up with the bomb and now you on TV talking about, they bombed my building, I don't know what to do. You knew the troops was coming in to find the terrorists. You knew they was going to blow buildings up somewhere or another. So if we know that they're blowing up the city, leave the city while they at war.
Yeah. What's up? What's going on? You listen to Tell It Like T.I. Is. This is Vigilante. Hey, what's going on, Yolanda? We got Yolanda Spivey on, you know. This is my home girl. What's going on?
Nothing. I was just calling you. I'm going to get you.
I got you on live. We're talking. Everybody. That's Yolanda. Hey, Yolanda, Doc got his show coming up, the Pendulum. We're talking about should the feds take over Chicago. We was talking about what happened today, with the Facebook Live shooting and all the other stuff going on. What do you think? What do you think we can do? What can we do with this situation? Because if we let the feds take over, then you're starting something that we might not want to have later on.
That is definitely true, and it probably would be, a few of the times in U.S. history where the feds came down and took over a city, but I will say this, if the feds did come down, swoop down, took over the city of Chicago, of course they're only going to do it in that small section of Chicago, because Chicago is a huge city,
Heck yeah.
And not all of Chicago is, riddled with drugs and violence. So I really think that it will cause people in that small area to just move out and infiltrate in other areas. That's what I think is going to happen.
So you don't think that they're going to actually get rid of them? They'll just migrate somewhere else and build up trap houses somewhere else, right?
As they always have done. Yes, sir.
Yeah, because, I know drug dealers that leave Chicago to go to North Carolina and set up. set up shop. You watched the movie Belly. They left New York to go where?
That's right. They certainly did. They went down to the Midwest?
Yeah, no, I think they went to South Carolina or something like that.
They went to Omaha, Nebraska.
Yeah, Omaha, Nebraska.
Nebraska, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness, yeah. So
I
mean, I think that's what they will do. I don't think that they're going to take all that crap to another city, another part of Chicago, whatever, wherever they can set up shop. And it's going to be the same old thing, just different hood. That's all.
Hey,
that's in my opinion.
Yeah, hey, Dr. Samari says Spivey in the house.
Hi, Samari. That's my boo.
Hey, also real quick, let people know where they can find you at.
Oh, they can find me at, guys, visit my website. It's www.mwhitney.com. If you guys need some insurance, you better call a sister. I got you. We do everything. Life, health, auto, home, whatever you got. You got an event going on, we do that. You're buying a building, we do that. Let's buy up the block, people. Let's buy up the block. Okay, don't move from your hood. Buy up those abandoned buildings, and let's create some wealth in the black communities. Yes.
No doubt, no doubt. Well, I thank you for coming on, Yolanda. You're my sister. Tell E-Boogie I said hi. And,
definitely.
I'm glad you're listening. Share the link, and we'll get up with you, sister.
Definitely. How you been, though?
I'm chilling. I'm good. We'll talk. All right, sister.
Cool, man.
All right, peace.
All right.
Yeah. She's like she said, buying up the building, and in Chicago, they definitely need some life insurance.
And Sister Yolanda, you need to take that life insurance up to Chicago for sure. I mean, via internet, though. You might not need to go up there personally, but you take that on up there.
Yeah. This is Tell It Like a T.I. is. What's going on? What's up, Dre? Let people know what's up. And you've been hearing the conversation, so kind of give me your thoughts on it.
Should I think that the Fed should come in?
Yeah. I know. Crazy, ain't it?
No, you know what? I don't, but it's just so much bigger than that, though, right?
Yes.
It's so much bigger than people moving out of the hood and going to a better place. Because if it was that easy,
we'd be gone.
Exactly.
But I see it both ways, man. But I dig what you're saying.
Right.
So, what do you think? Seeing this young girl, seeing the kids, a 2-year-old caught up in the crossfire. When we start getting our kids hit, it becomes a different ball game. It's almost like back in the days with lynching and all these things, when they did Emmett Till, it changed the game. You feel me?
Yeah.
So when you see another kid caught in the crossfire, don't care who they were shooting at, it was kids in there. And then the lady that got shot that was pregnant, it could be possibly another girl. I mean, wherever the kid she was having, that could be. So how do we do this then? What do we do then if we don't let the feds in? Because they itching to get in so they can go to every inner city and probably start martial law. Then what do we do, Dre? Yeah.
That's why I was a little hesitant to call in, but to me it just seems like a all around lack of knowledge and fear.
Okay.
On both ends.
Yeah.
I definitely believe that because of, that whole 80s, 70s, and 80s era, it really, kind of like plagued a generation.
Yes, it did. It did.
And so I believe that it's just kind of going in, oh, God, because I feel like because I still see older people still not being really good role models or examples for the millennials.
I agree wholeheartedly.
So it's just kind of like, how do we begin to bring people's spirits up, and how do we begin to educate a community where it can begin to thrive on its own? Because we all know, and you know this, poverty breeds violence.
Yeah.
Like, we know that. So with that being said, I definitely believe that we have to begin to somehow go into these homes.
Okay.
It's not about, you know what, forget it. You know people are not coming to town meetings, right?
No. Yeah.
Or you can have the people that are out in the streets, right, like the gang members.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that you could have them to, if they really want to do something, go to the town hall meetings, but it's up to them to come out of the town hall meetings and go door to door to the community. Because they're so close with community. The police is not going to go door to door. So we need either the gangs or activists to actually begin to go door to door and just and begin to answer these questions that a lot of people have. People are not feeling hopeful. People are not educated. People they can't stand on their own.
I get you.
You know, like, it goes beyond, okay, how do we stop the violence? Like, man, we got to get to the mental first.
I know, and you got a lot of, you know, that being said, we got a lot of zombies walking around, too, that don't want to hear none of that. But like Yolanda Spivey said, please let them know we have to reach the children to change the discourse on what's going on in the hood. And we're going to have to get to the kids, but then those people have kids, too. And you are a product of what your environment shows you. So it's almost like, as hard as that answer was that you try to come up with, it's so many layers to what's going on with us that it's almost like, help, Calgon, take me away. I don't know what to do, because I know one thing that we have to do, the ones that know, we have to keep pushing, because, you know, being an activist is the hardest thing in the world, because the people ain't thinking about it. We're so interested in standing in line for Jordan shoes, what's going on in reality TV shows. We're standing in the snow, sleet, for watching football games, tailgate in the snow in the wintertime to watch sports and stuff, that it doesn't, like, it was almost take 10,000 people slaughtered in one day to get us to say, we need to do something. And what I'm afraid is going to be too late.
How do you get someone to want to even think about the whole activism? Maybe people really don't know what activism is, you know, and that's probably why they, you know, tend to shy away from it. Because I believe someone like me, I want to be involved, but if I feel as if I'm not completely together to try to to be a part of some kind of movement. So what would you tell someone like me who just who want to help but don't really know how to go about, but don't want to help in that traditional kind of way?
I think that what you can do is the kids that you reach, the kids that you interact with, the people you interact with, that's, you know, talk about our history. Talk about our great history. And the best thing you can do when you don't have to join no movement is to lead by your example, your living example of how you carry yourself, that make one young girl say, hey, how, you know, you got beautiful makeup on, or I love your fashion thing. You into fashion. Let your fashion clients and stuff know about who they are. So we plant seeds. See, the thing is that we're all planting seeds everywhere, then it does not matter. The sun will give it the harvest. You know, we have to continue planting seed, and I feel that a lot of us are just being quiet. Righteous want to say something to you.
Hey, how you doing today, sister?
All right.
Good. I have something to say about that solution from the child standpoint, and that would be that I work at a psychiatric prison for kids, and what a big thing that we have to deal with there is every instance of violence, rape, molestation, all of that is causing trauma to these kids. So all these murders that they have seen, heard of, witnessed, whatever, or even done themselves, committed in Chicago right now or wherever they are, it's traumatizing them in ways that's altering their way of thinking. It's making them numb at an age where they should actually be learning. It's actually closing off parts of their brain. They have showed that in studies that it's closing off parts of their brain because the young mind cannot take all of that. It can't go through that. So I think a big part of what would help that is that We need more non-for-profit before and after care centers all the way up to the 12th grade. If your kid does not have a parent at home and they are at work, they behind need to be at that before and after center. It's non-for-profit, so you don't have to pay any money for your child to go there, and they're not free to be shooting up people on the streets and this and that, and it's a structured environment where they're learning. So if we know that a lot of these problems are caused by children whose parents or parent is at work most of the time, so they have freedom to be gangsters, to be selling drugs, to be pimps and hoes and all of that, then we have to take away that freedom. Mm-hmm. So, and that's how I say we do that. We start these before and after cares that go all the way up to the 12th grade. If you don't have anybody at home, then you have to be there until someone is there.
How would you even begin to put something together like that?
By talking about it on the radio today. Somebody heard us.
Yep.
Well, my thing is, I guess I'm trying to feel hopeful, right?
Yeah.
I'm definitely trying to feel hopeful. But when you see our government, when you see our system, the systematic of it all, right?
Yeah.
How...
Well, I say this. I say this. It's like, look at Gary. Gary said this, Drea. He said, I don't know what activism is myself, but I must change myself. I can't live this way no more. I want to change. By changing your mindset and saying that, you know what, I want to study more. I want to read more. I'm going to look in deep into the articles, not just be shocked by the articles that we see happening with our kids, but what can I do just within my neighborhood? Awareness, sharing posts like you do on your page, sharing things, talking about it, having people like, I'm looking on your page now, people are discussing what you posted about and having them say, yeah, well, how can we continue talking about this to the point where it becomes popular, like the next little fad that we always watch, the next new dance craze would be just talking about this. And then when we have no time to hear about ratchet stuff, when we close off the ignorance out of our life, I think that's where we can change things.
Andrea, also, there are 3 things that are needed for a fire to start. And that's what we're dealing with, a lot of fires. One is oxygen, the other is heat, and the other is fuel. So if you take any one of those 3 things out of the equation, the fire cannot start. And that's what we have to find out. And one of those things in the fire equation in cities like Chicago is those kids have too much free time. So you take that out and fires start going out. But if we keep fueling fire by sending in the feds, that didn't solve one problem by sending in the feds. All it did was kept them in the house for a while so they can learn some new ways to get around the system. You got to take the fuel out of the fire.
Yep.
So we're talking about this, right?
Yeah.
But the government just seems as if they can't come up with no other solution besides the feds coming in.
And my thing is, it's like what Gary said. We need to use our own resources. And, you know, and like you said before about what Righteous said about the before and after centers are needed without the government help. We need to show that we don't need your help for that. You know what I'm saying? And like Samari said, guns, money, and poverty. That's what's being pushed. Because all these guys are coming up, all these young people, they got guns. And, you know, and you look at the culture. It's becoming the Wild Wild West now. You know, everybody want to hold on to that. That's the Second Amendment, right? The Second Amendment, that you know, they want to hold on to that. You got things where they want to put where people can bear arms in schools. So that's what we're going to. It's like it's almost like an Avatar game. We the avatars, and now they're changing the programming. They're changing the programming.
And see, Drea, also, what we talked about, one of those ways to fund those community centers where they had to go to so they didn't have any free time, black churches in the last 30 years have brought in over $410 billion worth of tax-free money that they can go and give to wherever they want. And all they've done is built bigger buildings and kept bigger salaries. They could have put that black money right back into the black communities and chose not to. So we have to quit giving these folks money, is what I say.
I agree. I completely agree with you on that one.
And I love the Lord. I love Jesus Christ, but I don't follow them. I follow the Lord and Jesus Christ. I don't follow these men who are little g gods. I'm not following you.
Yeah. So that's where it starts at. And like Gary also talks about to fund our programs like the Black Panthers did. You know what I'm saying? Because the Black Panthers, that's why they came out about. They weren't out about to be what they were painted to be.
Right.
You know, they said there was a need. There was a need for these things, so therefore they did it to feed people, to teach people, and protect them so they can go to school. So we can do it without their help. We clearly make a lot of money without the government help. We clearly got people that can put money. Oprah's right in Chicago. She's building up schools in Africa and giving money away like that. But you mean tell me she can't come into the west side of Chicago or the south side where I'm from and do something?
She made all her money in Chicago.
You know what I'm saying? So all these things is that maybe we need to speak a little louder and stop acting like we invalids and get up and actually do something that we know we can do anyway.
I agree. I think with me, I'm a little hesitant to say certain things because it just people tend to, look at me as just like this real radical, kind of person, and people tend to like back off because when I speak to people, I only really want to I understand, you don't need to take life serious all the time, but I just feel like right now at this point in my life, everything is serious.
Yeah.
So like if the conversation isn't like benefiting you and I, like far as getting us ahead, I really don't care too much to entertain it.
Yeah.
So it's just really just trying to be around like-minded people and be around people who really genuinely want to learn and change and be, a better citizen in the community. Because I just feel like blacks are more divided than ever now, especially against against each other. As far as I go to church on a Saturday, you go to church on a Sunday. How you spend your tax money, it's just so divided. How do you get us to just come back on one accord like the Black Panthers?
Yeah.
That's what I liked about that era. Like, they were so pro-black. It was just like, let's stick together. But now it just seems as if it's like my black brother on the side of me is like he's almost like my enemy if we have different viewpoints.
I know. And Gary said this. He said that he was through with religion. They don't want to help us. And what happens is, and me and Dr. Samari are going to do something on religion that we're going to talk about something that nobody's talked about. So I'm going to save that for our show when we do together. But I just think that they want you to say or feel that the narrative is militant because that's the narrative to keep you to be quiet. To keep you to say, you're not being militant. You look at what happened when Trump was becoming president. More poor whites spoke out about making America great again, taking their country back. And, and they don't, you ask them, they don't think that they're being militant. They just think it's their right to have this land and do what they need to do with it. And they're not being lynched. They're not being put up in mass incarceration or not having the same economic, distress as we do. Because they can live off of white privilege. So that's the difference. But I thank you, Dre, for coming on. I appreciate your sister. Keep listening to the show. We're still talking a little more. But we just have to work together in peace. You know?
You're doing great, sister. Keep going. Keep going.
Thank you. That means a lot to me. You all enjoy and I appreciate everything that you're doing. If I can, help in any kind of way, definitely.
Yeah, you know where to find me.
You can. Yes.
Yep. So we'll get together.
Find me too, because sometimes I need you to reach out to me and say, "Hey, I need you to do this."
Okay, I got you. That's how we started, man. We started the bill. All right, my sister.
Bye.
So that's the thing, man. As you see. It goes on and on, man. You got a lot of sisters. The thing is, there's a lot of sisters that's out there really doing it. they're really out here doing it. And I think the guys, we the one have to be the protectors. The women, the single mother is the one that's caught up in the crossfire as well. Because their boyfriends or the man want to be a thug or don't want to take care of responsibility to the point that, our kids are out there where the single mother is working and the kids are watching themselves.
Yes.
So we have a whole lot of problems, and it goes back to the subject, though. Once again, should the feds take over Chicago? What you say, Rach?
I can't give an answer to that because I have no control over whether they do or don't take it over. So I can only talk on something that I could help, Chicago with to solve their problems. But I can't. I mean, if you guys have swung the pendulum in that direction for so long that if they do come, you brought them. Gangsters in Chicago, you brought them. So, I mean, you're going to have to deal with that. The deal is the people can't live. The people who are not causing these problems, they're once again going to have to be in prison in their own homes.
Okay, the answer question. My girl Juliana said no. She says the police need to be overhauled and do their job properly. I believe that too, because if you just blame it all on us, then you don't make these guys accountable. They coming in thinking they were animals. So that's why they shoot a boy in the back 16 times and not put it up there.
But we have to, once again, know that up front that they don't care about us. But this is the problem.
But look at the contradiction in that. If they don't care about us, then how can they properly police the area? Then that means that the police are gangsters.
They are. They are. Okay. Ice Cube said they're the biggest gang in the city. He said that in 1990 something.
Okay.
They're the biggest gang in the city. So we have to know that they're not going to care about us. But this is the big problem in a city like Chicago or Baltimore or somewhere like Memphis or something like Little Rock, places like that. If the police are against you, if the system is against you, and a lot of your own young warriors, your young men at that warrior age, where they could be focusing that energy on the people who are actually trying to oppress them instead of oppressing the people that everybody else is oppressing. So what I'm saying is these are now predators. They've established themselves as predators. We can't keep supporting our predators in our community just because they made a choice to say, I'm going to be a killer.
Okay. So, I mean, it's a culture then. It's a culture that's jacked up. Yolanda said, let me show you what Yolanda said. She said that the police are gangsters. The police are putting guns and drugs in the hood. They are responsible for what's going on, which is why that there need to be basically a cleansing, a complete cleansing. Hold up. I think she's calling in. We got Yolanda on the line. What's going on, sister? Speak on it.
The police are gangsters. The police are putting...
Speak on it. Turn the radio down.
Okay, let me turn my radio down because I'm like so into this show.
Okay.
It's crazy. Okay, I couldn't stop that.
Go for it. Talk to me.
Okay, so basically this is what's going on. And some of the gangsters even vouch for this. And they said for years, the police have been putting drugs and guns in the hood. Okay, these drugs and guns are not coming to the hood by themselves. The police are playing an integral part in putting them in a hood. And so who's the real gangster? Like you said, the police are the gangsters. Okay, they are responsible for what's going on. I personally feel that the police need to be completely cleaned out. I mean, overhaul. If they're going to get the feds in there, why don't they start by dismantling the police department, putting the feds in the police department, okay? And go from there. But the feds being on the streets, interacting, that's not going to work. But they need to do a complete overhaul, and any new cop coming in needs strict training. Okay, I'm talking about body cameras, everything, the whole works. They need strict training on how to interact and deal with the public.
Do you think that what you said? Do you think that they would admit that? First off, there would be an admission that something is wrong, even though it's obvious something is wrong. But do you think that they are willing for the black neighborhoods to admit that they need to do something and it's all blamed on the gangsters and the thugs?
They need, Are you talking about? Are you referring to the cops admitting?
Yeah, cops or the government admitting that's what's needed.
No, of course not. You know they don't want that responsibility. They're always going to put it on us, black people. They're always going to put it on the gang members and the the gang members.
Yeah.
First of all, there's no jobs in Chicago for these young boys, okay? These young boys are walking around hopeless, penniless, all kinds of less.
Yeah.
All right? So the next thing they're going to do is turn on their own.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that's what people do. You know, they covet what's right in front of them. Okay? So they attack what's right in front of them. And that's their own.
Okay, Yolanda, I'm going to see what Righteous got to say. Stay on the line. Go ahead.
Okay.
Righteous, what you say to that?
What I say about that is to even overhaul the police department, you have to know what kind of power they have. And they basically, at this point, have autocracy type power, which is dictatorial power. And it's called arbitrary discretion. This is the actual technical term for what an arbitrary in definition says based on random choice or personal whim rather than any reason or system. And then it also says arbitrary is the rule that kings and bishops had. So what I'm saying is, to even start with the overhaul of the police department, you have to take that arbitrary power away in legal terms. Legally take that out of their job description. You're out on the streets. You have a definite set of rules that you go by. Because when they have arbitrary power by law, then that means anything they did was based on their discretion, which is bad.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the type things that we need to focus on, and our leaders that are more vocal and get the national news and all that, they need to focus on the real points, because those other points are after the fact of them actually having that power like a king or a bishop. So when you go to court...
What are the real points then? Let's focus on that. What are the real points? Like I said, these young boys are walking around with nothing to do. Okay, so if the cops come around and they're dropping drugs and guns in these young boys' hands, what do you think these young boys are going to do? They're going to sell the drugs and bust their guns, okay, because they have nothing else better to do. Idle minds, idle hands.
Okay, quickly.
There's no jobs for them.
No doubt, I agree. Hold on, I'm gonna let Righteous respond, but I want to say what Gary said. Gary said, "Feds and police are together. We must not seek help from them. If we can get our own to take care of us, we shouldn't call the police." And he say the police are gangs. They won't help us. They assume that we are the enemies.
If that was the case, then we should be out there right now. Now in Chicago, there is a task force of people going around, and they have been doing it for years.
Yep.
Okay?
Yes.
I forgot the sister's name that was, she just got an award for her work out there. And I mean, they are out there in the streets.
They are.
Like trying to get these gang members to put down their guns and do better and do more. And it's not working.
Okay.
Whatever we're doing, it's not working.
Because they're in a sense of hopelessness right now. And when you're in a sense of hopelessness, that means you have no faith. So whatever people say about God or whatever, when you have less faith, then you have less hope. No matter what people say, they say, I can establish hope on my own. How? If you just think you're going to die and nothing's going to happen after you die, then you have no hope. So you have a lot of kids running around because they can't deal with these people in these churches anymore, because the people in the churches care more about themselves than they do about doing God's work, which is spreading love. It's not about...
That's another thing I have to admit too, my brother, because the churches are also responsible. There was a time when the churches kind of like mandated the community.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? The church was a reflection of the community, or the community was a reflection of the church.
Yes.
Now that these churches are all about money, and that's it. Look at the community. The community is all about money.
Yes.
That's it. So... there was a time when the church used to go out there and help the community, was like strictly, deeply involved. They're not there anymore. And in the black community, there's like a church on every freaking corner. That's the thing, a church on every freaking corner. And also, I wanted to tell you guys, to back up my other statement that I made about the task forces that are out there.
Okay.
There are a group of black mothers. They got tired, okay? And they got tired of the killings and everything, and they are out there every day seeing their children in the community off to school, off to activities, because they do not want their children to die. You know, simply because they do not want. These are women, black women doing this. My question is, where the hell are the black men? And I think this is going to get me into a lot of trouble with you men folk.
No, say it.
No, say it.
Tell the truth. I was just speaking about this earlier before you got on, about the women are the leaders. They're doing the job that men are not doing. We too cool going to the games, tailgating, watching sports, debating at the barbershop. So go ahead and speak it.
Yeah, like, we can't do, like, sisters, we can't do this by ourselves.
Nope.
You know, men are the muscle, women are the brain. But we need our muscle, you know, and also these young boys out there need men to guide them. Instead, they have these stupid-ass old gangsters out there acting a fool, guiding them the wrong way.
Yeah,
you know, and that's the problem. The men in Chicago, in that area, they didn't grow up. They still acting like little boys.
The second, like poverty create desperation. But I also, it's like Nas said this in one of his songs. A lot of older men are living their second childhood, and
yes, they are.
Yeah, and another thing is, do you think though? This is devil's advocate. The trauma of knowing if I stand up and fight, I'm gonna be. I could easily get Eric Garner, Walter Scott, and these things. Who's willing to be a martyr in a system that says, I dare you to stand up. I dare you to, because I'm going to shoot you down in the street, because you already got your own kind shooting you down in the street. Ain't going to do it. We're going to have, as he say, arbitrary power to shoot you down in the street or give you 20, 30 years. That's just like buck breaking that was happening over there in Jamaica and what they did to the slaves, except for they doing it in a different way. They're breaking your manhood by saying, if you step out of line and buck up against us, you're going to jail, versus if you buck up against your own mind, your own people, we don't care about that. Y'all can wipe each other out, but if you buck up against us, we gonna shut you down. Is it the fear that if I do that, or if I stand up and fight that I'm not willing to be a Martin Luther King or a Malcolm X or Fred Hampton?
I agree with you totally, and I think that's what is going to happen. But this is what needs to happen. These men need to get together, like the deacons of defense. The deacons of defense got together and they bust their guns the right way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
These men need to get together and not stand alone. You know what I'm saying? That's what needs to be done. They don't need to be because it's a very lonely road, and I can imagine them being afraid if they, if one step out and try to do it on his own.
Yeah,
that's why they.
But because you're facing something
of them.
Yeah, you're facing something that, like, and Gary is speaking on what I wanted to try to say for me and Samari, but the tax exempt status. See, once the church compromised with the government, it put them in a compromising position, meaning that you better fly right or we'll take your rights. Mm-hmm. Then you change the game on how church do business. So they got to stand back. They can't say nothing.
But they have the choice to give that tax-free money to any worthy cause that they want to.
Yeah.
Well,
which is the black community.
I was looking in it was another black, it was in Jackson, Mississippi, and I was looking, there was the white side of town, of course, and the black side of town. Uh-huh. So the white side of town had two main churches in a whole town within a 20, 30-mile radius. Uh-huh. The black side of town was only 14 miles, and they had over 15 churches in that radius. Uh-huh. There were so many foreclosures, because I was looking for homes. There were so many foreclosures in that radius, and I'm like, okay, wait a minute. If there are that many black churches here in this black side of town, why aren't they buying up these homes, fixing these homes, giving jobs to the people in these neighborhoods, and creating some type of wealth for these people. All they're doing is sitting back and collecting funds from these people, but they're not doing anything to reciprocate back into the community any resources. So the community is depleted. It's becoming depleted.
Because you said it best. You said that these OGs are out here teaching these young cats how to be better gangsters or worse citizens. So then you have to reasonably deduct that these pastors and these deacons are out here doing the same thing in a different way. They're teaching the young folk that are supposedly good citizens how to be better hustlers to their own people or against their own people.
Black women, to be honest with you, because black women are the biggest churchgoers, but they're teaching us to look away and to turn a blind eye because God got it. You know what I'm saying? And God works through us and not for us.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. A lot of black women are turning. They see it too, but they turn their heads because God got it. That's what they think. God got it.
But if you read God's word, he gives you a lot of instructions on dealing with crooked folk. And so, like the worst thing in the Bible is a person who hates you for no reason, because that's why they killed Jesus. They didn't even have any reason, but they killed him anyway. So when we have all of these people, including our own people, who are hating us for no reason, we can't deal with those folks no more. We can't.
So what do you expect? What do you think should be done? Should they be exterminated?
No, I just said we can't deal with them. I did not say exterminate.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a time where there's going to be two black people, and we're going to separate from each other, unfortunately.
Yep. And I think, but you know what? That's not a bad thing. Because you ever watch a zombie movie?
Yeah.
Okay, here's my...
Zombie movie. Look at you, Zombie Land.
Yeah. You know me. I love talking about it. I sure don't want to watch no more. I'm too grown to cut my lights on at nighttime. You know what I'm saying? But but in a zombie movie, the people that walk around dead, they got some human features on them. You know what I'm saying? They just decrepit and and all, gory looking, but they got human features. So that other black that you're talking about, we have to look at it like zombies. Like, if you touch them, you're going to be infected.
But they better not come to the outside of town because I'm tired of them.
Yeah, I agree. You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot of things we have to do to make this thing better. I don't know how we make it better, but something has to change because little kids are getting caught up in the crossfire of these people trying to get retribution on somebody that may owe them money for drugs or beefing because of different sets. So the system is really infected us real good when it comes to people are willing to die for a color, willing to die for their set, or willing to do 20 to 30 years, 40 years in prison and stuff like that instead of doing other things. Yeah. So it's crazy. It's a crazy situation right here.
But Vid, you just said what do we do, right? It's going to just take the community. Just like after slavery, black people got together and formed a community, right? Yeah. And we did for ourselves. We no longer had 3 hots and a cot from massa.
Yeah.
All right? We went off, we formed towns, and we did for ourselves. And it's going to have to happen again organically in that manner in order for us to rectify the damage that has already been done in our communities.
Okay, Gary G says, he said God got it. He says, as a believer in God, I am disappointed. We haven't come far enough, and I'm unsatisfied. How do you feel about the situation when we say pray about it, God's going to work it out? Do we have the gall to tell God what should be a time limit on how he works, or do we just feel the way we feel, and this is how we feel? And the pastors and people that are the faith haven't given us any confidence to think that it can get better. Only thing I see get better is the pockets of the pastors.
See, the thing is, God, again, does not work for us. He works through us.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? His spirit, for those who believe,
exactly,
his spirit works through us. Okay, so we can praise God and pray. I mean, prayer is really good because no matter how you look at it, it's energy being exhausted into the universe, okay? For a positive or a negative effect to happen. Okay? So if you want something positive to happen, you want some change to happen, it's going to have to take us to do it. We're going to have to do it.
Okay.
And that's the definition of faith. That's faith. You got to step out.
Faith without works is dead.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. Faith is you stepping out when the Red Sea is parted and you see two walls of water on either side of you and you walk through it to get away from them Egyptians. It's plenty of folk today that would just sit there and get murdered by the Egyptians because they not walking through them two walls of water.
They're afraid that they might drown.
Yes.
Exactly.
Fear and lack of faith creates hopelessness.
It does.
So,
This is a killer. You are absolutely correct, sir.
Yep. So that's what it is. I mean, I don't know, but so let's say that before I close out this show, we got about 4 minutes left. Okay. Then the top of the question. I go to you first, Yolanda. Should the feds take over Chicago?
No.
Why not?
Because if the feds take over Chicago, those people in Chicago are going to take their shenanigans to the outskirts of the city, and they're just going to move out in other areas. I think that the problem should be addressed in another way.
Okay. What do you think about that, Righteous?
I don't want to see them there because I already know that they're the same system as the police are, so that's not going to, fix anything. So I would have to say no, but I honestly don't have any real say-so on what they're going to do anyway. I think the people of Chicago have a say-so.
Yes, they do, and I agree with that. And I think it is up to the people of Chicago to make that decision on whether or not the feds, because they're living in that stuff every day.
Oh.
And let me tell you something to the other people in Chicago who think they're nice and safe. Okay, they better think real hard and long about this one. Okay, because Boomer and them are going to move up in their block, and before they know it, and set up shop.
Okay. Wait.
And believe.
Okay, well, check this out. I don't think they should. I think that y'all talking about them moving, but I'd be more scared not of them just moving to other cities, of the destruction that the police would put on the community, and how many innocent people would be caught in the crossfire of them cleansing Chicago, no different than gangbangers going after one gang member and shoot a 2-year-old kid. I'm quite sure it wasn't shooting a 2-year kids were on their mind was getting at the guy they wanted to get at. So I think for that reason, and also I think that the reason why Chicago may have a say-so, I think we have a say-so too, because that could easily be in Newark, New Jersey. It can easily be in Kansas City, Kansas, or Kansas City, Missouri. It can easily be in Milwaukee and anywhere else that blacks reside, Charlotte, anywhere like that they reside, or, in Arkansas. So my thing is, we're watching, and like court cases, once we set a precedent at something, they can reflect back to it and say, hey, it worked in Chicago, so we need to do this. And then you have an opening for a new world order and martial law because we gave them permission, no different than what we did with the Patriot Act.
That's right.
So we got to be careful of the fear and making sure that we're not being pushed. Like I say, this seems like a movie to me. It's like we are changing the script and we're moving the chess pieces this way. And I told you, Farrakhan spoke about this a while back about Chicago would be the testing ground. Mm-hmm. The testing ground of how you do combat to keep a people at bay, especially black people. So I trust in God and I still believe in God. For me, I'm going to continue believing it. But we have to do something like you said, Yolanda, because time is running out. And when I say running out, not running out for the people that are living pretty good, but for the people that have been condemned, have been Jim Crow'd, beat, lynched, Eric Garner, Walter Scott, to Emmett Till, body count after body count. It have to stop. and it's getting crazy. And we are now in the Trump era. I don't know what Trump going to do. I'm taking a wait and see approach with him.
See him teach.
I'm taking a wait and see approach. And it is what it is. Because I don't know that what's the name would have did any better. I would have deal with somebody that I know and expect. Miss Clinton, because with her we would have been drinking Kool-Aid. With him, we are watching, so we expecting the worst from him. So it's one thing to expect the worst, or we be wooed. And I'm not knocking everything Obama did, but we be wooed and loving a family that was a beautiful family and all that stuff, and not really have nothing to hold on to when he leaves.
I agree.
So that's what it is. Well, I thank both of y'all for joining the show. Say peace. Let them know where they can find you at again. Miss Yolanda?
Yes?
Let them know where they can find you at again.
Oh, me, boo. I'm sorry. Okay.
Hey, I know my words are captivating. Now, go ahead.
Oh, please. You can find me at Vidge's house. I'm just playing.
You trying to get me killed, ain't you? Go ahead.
All right.
Yeah.
MWhitney.com. Go to www.mwhitney.com. You guys, if you guys need some insurance, please give me a call. I got you.
No doubt, no doubt. And you can find Righteous on this show every Wednesday. Tell it like a T.I. is. 2 minutes and some change. The radio show, not the blog. And I thank y'all. We are the movement. And,
For sure.
And we are out.